Okay, today we will start with the chapter number 9. Okay, and this is very important chapter according to your board exam, and this is about your transportation. Okay, so before starting the chapter transportation, first we will discuss what is transport. Transport means those materials which are inside the cell and which transfer from one part of the cell to the other part of the cell. Okay, so this is the meaning of transport. Now we will discuss why transport is necessary. Okay, this chapter is started from chapter number, the page number 171 in your book. So please open your books and listen the lecture. So first is that why transport is necessary. Why do we need transport? Its answer is very simple. In order to run the metabolic processes occurring in the body of living organisms, cells need some materials from environment, and also cells need to dispose some material into the environment. For this purpose, materials are transported to and from cells. As I told you in simple words, what is the meaning of transport? Transport means the particles, the substances which transport from one part of the cell to the other part in the cell. This is called transportation, and we also discuss in detail in chapter number 4 in cell structure that in the cell there are many important organelles in the inside of the cell, and these are Golgi operators, mitochondria, plastids, the lysosomes, centrioles, and other things. Okay, so because of that, when these are things are transferred from one part of the cell to the other part of to the other part inside the cell, this process is called transportation or transport system. Okay, now we will discuss how transportation is happen in the living organism. The definition tells us about only the transportation inside a single cell. Now we will discuss how this is happen inside the living organism. So you can see in your book, in unicellular and simple multicellular organism, the fusion can work only because every corner of their body is in close and direct contact with environment. In complex multicellular bodies, cells are far apart from the environment, and such bodies need a comprehensive system for transport of materials. So we can divide living organism in two ways. One is called simple organism, and second is called complex organism. So when we talk about the simple organism can it is a simple process in which the cell transport from one part of the cell to the other part by the process of diffusion. And what is the complex organism? Complex organism is a process in which many other functions like active transport, there are facilitated diffusion. These all processes work in this system. Okay. Now we will discuss how transport happens in plants. So first we will discuss the transportation in plants, how it is happen inside the plant. So in before discussing the transportation in plants, first we will discuss the process, the stages which plays important role in the transportation. So first is the role of water. That role of water is very important in transportation. So water plays a vital role in life of plants because it is necessary for to why water is important for the plants. This answer is very simple because water is important for photosynthesis, it is important for pressure, and it is also important to regulation of the temperature within the cell. So water play three important role inside the body of a plant. First one, it helps in photosynthesis. As we know that during photosynthesis, a plant needs plenty of sunlight, plenty of water, and fertile soil. So this is very important. So this is very important when we talk about the plant. When we talk about the plant, so plant plays a three important roles inside the body of a plant, and there three important functions are photosynthesis, second is turgor, and third is regulation of temperature within the cell. So photosynthesis, the process you all know about it. And what is a turgor? I have told you when cells get plenty excess water from the body of from the soil. So because of that, these cells become swollen. they become hard, and because plants stand in the ground due to the tertiary pressure. So turbidity it is also controlled by the water. And the third one is your regulation of temperature within the cell. So how temperature maintained inside the body of the plant. So these three important roles are done by water, because we are discussing about the transportation in plants. So first of all, we have discussed the water. So now our next topic is that how absorption of water is happen inside the body of a plant. So its answer is very simple. Vascular tissues are present in all plants except for roots and light and liver bodies that move water and throughout the plant body and move throughout the body. In detail, we all know that all plants have special tiny seed tubes inside the stem. These seed tubes are called vascular bundles, and separately we call them xylem tubes and phloem tubes. So xylem bundles are responsible to get water from the soil and take up to all parts of the aerial parts of the plant. And the role of phloem is that they collect food and glucose from the leaves and take up to all area parts or area and inside the parts of the plant. So vascular bundles play a very important role, and this all process is happen through the turbidity of water. Now we will discuss how water and ion uptake occurs in plants. How water and ion uptake occurs in plants. So before starting this topic, I will explain to the introduction. Please come to page number 172, the next page. Uh, First, we will discuss the introduction. Water ion, yes, water ion and uptake of ions. Okay, how it is happen. Introduction is there. In addition to anchoring the plant, roots perform two other vital functions. Definitely in this topic we will discuss about that how plant enter, how plant can stand in the soil. So definitely for if it is entered, if the plant is anchored in the soil, it is due to the due to the pressure of the water and due to the function of the roots. So at that time, roots plays very important role in the life cycle of a plant. So at that time, the roots performs two important functions. The first important function is that absorb water and salt from the soil. Definitely, we all know that all plants have roots, and these roots grow under the soil. And further, they are divided into root hairs. So, root hairs and roots have a large surface area inside the soil. And their important function is there to get the important nutrients and salts and water for the plant. So the first important function of root is that absorb water and salts from the soil. And the second important function of root is that they provide conducting tissues for distributing these substances to the tissues of the stem. Secondly, they provide conducting tissues. Conducting tissues means vascular tissues. Vascular tissues means xylem and phloem tissues. Okay. So they provide conducting tissues for distributing these substances to the tissues of the stem. So this is a very important function of root. So you have to write here short question. This question oftenly comes in board exam, that write two functions of roots. Yeah, write the functions of roots. So you have discussed two functions. First, absorb water and salts from the soil. It is given in the first paragraph under the heading of water and ion uptake. And the second important function is that they provide conducting tissues for distributing these substances to the tissues of the stem. So these are two important functions which is done by the roots. Now we will discuss the structure of the root. Definitely in second paragraph, this is given the structure of the root. The structure of the root, first we will discuss the internal structure of the root. So internal structure of the root consists of some parts. I will told you first the names of these parts. First is conducting tissue. Second is pericycle. Third is endodermis and cortex. Fourth is epidermis, and fifth is root hairs. So these are the parts of the internal structure of the root. So first I will told you about the conducting tissues. What are these conducting tissues? Means xylem and phloem. I have told you in above paragraph Xylem and phloem of root are grouped in the center to form a rod-shaped core which extends throughout the length of the root. So these tissues are produced inside the root, inside the soil, inside the ground, along with the roots, and which extends throughout the length of the root, and their length is always equal to the length of the root inside the soil. Second part of internal structure root is pericycle. So after conducting tissues, outside the conducting tissues there is a narrow layer. Outside the conducting tissues, there is a narrow layer of thin walled cells. This thin walled cells layer is called pericycle. Okay, and the pericycle, and the third part is endodermis and cortex. So a single layer of cells, endodermis, surrounds the pericycle layer. External to this, there is a broad zone of cortex, which consists of large and thin walled cells. I think I explain it again. First, because we are discussing the internal structure of a root. First of all, I have told you it consists of 5 parts: conducting tissue, pericycle, endodermis and cortex, epidermis and root hair. So first, it will start from conducting tissues. Conducting tissues are along with roots inside the soil, and their length is always equal to the roots. Second important thing is that pericycle. Pericycle is a thin walled layer of cell which cover the conducting tissues. And after that, there is a single layer of cells, endodermis, which surrounds the pericycle, means which cover the pericycle layer. And extend to this, there is a broad zone. After that, the part is extended and it is covered by a broad zone, which is called a cortex, which consists of a large and thin walled cells. After that, the fourth part is epidermis. The cortex is bounded on the outside by a single layer of epidermal cells. And the fifth part of internal structure of root is that root hairs. Roots also have cluster of tiny root hairs which are actually the extensions of epidermis. Cluster means a bunch of hairs. Okay, so roots also have many tiny root hairs which are actually the extensions of epiderma. Epiderma is also the extended part of the cortex, so it also consists of a large root hairs. Okay, now you can see there is a box is given, side box is given. So you can see the side boxes given in your book. Okay, this is a recording. You can see. First of all, you can see xylem tissue is responsible for the transport of water and dissolved substances from roots to aerial parts. So you have to write a short question here. Differentiate between xylem and phloem tissue. It is a very important short question according to your board exam. Xylem tissue is responsible for the transport of water and dissolved substances from roots to aerial parts. Okay, its important function is the transport of water. So that's why xylem tissue also called dead tissues, because they are not a live tissue. Their important function only this: they have to transport water from the get the water from the roots and transport to aerial parts of the plant. And then it consists of vessel elements and tissues. And then we talk about the phloem tissues. Phloem tissues is responsible for the conduction of dissolved organic matter. Dissolved organic matter, how do we get it? We get these organic matter from the soil. So when that's why a plant needs a fertile soil. Okay, so these organic matter are dissolved in the soil, in the water. So the phloem function is that to get this food between different parts of plant body. It consists of sieve tubes, cells, and companion cells. So definitely it needs a transportation. So it needs a sieve tubes. It needs a layer of cells, and also need a companion cells which help to transport these things. So you have to write on this box, differentiate between xylem and phloem cell. This is the answer of short question of xylem and phloem cells. Okay, now come to the second box. Water always moves from an area of higher water potential to an area of lower water potential. This is very common, and we all know that always water moves from high area to low area. So the relationship between the concentration of solute and water potential is inverse. So you have to understand this line, the relationship between the concentration. Concentration means the attention of the word, and the word is given solute. Solute is a substance which is dissolved in the water. And water potential is inverse. Inverse means they are the reciprocal of each other. Means they are the opposite of each other. Okay. So I'm repeating this line. The relationship between the concentration of solute and water potential is inverse, means they are opposite to each other. So when there is a lot of solute, that is hypertonic solution. If you keep in your mind your class 9 biology, you also discuss this topic tonicity in chapter number 4, that three types of solutions are produced inside the body of a plant and in animal cell. First is called hypotonic, second is called hypertonic, and third one is called isotonic. So when we talk about the hypertonic solution, hypertonic in which the ratio of solute is more as compared to water, and hypotonic in which the ratio of water is more as compared to solute. And isotonic solution is that solution in which solute and solvent both are in equal ratio. Okay, so here we are talking about hypertonic solution. When there is a lot of solute, okay, it means it is a hypertonic solution, means in the solution the ratio of solute is more as compared to solution, the water potential is low and vice versa. So this is true because of the ratio of the solute, because it will be more. So because of that, what will be happen? The water potential should be low, and definitely this process will be continued. So you have to understand this concept, and definitely if you keep in your mind, you can understand that this, in simple words, this process is also called osmosis. In osmosis process, in class 9 biology, in chapter number 4, in your last chapter, we have discussed that when cell transport materials from one part of the cell to the other part, then it faces different methods in which we have discussed the osmosis. Osmosis is a process which is started from higher concentration to lower concentration. I hope you understand the box. Okay. Now I will explain you. I have told you the internal structure of a leaf. Now I will discuss with you the functions of leaf here. Okay, so you can see it is given in your book. In this paragraph, you can give the heading of in this paragraph the functions of root here. So what is the function of root here? First, I have told you that roots always grow inside the soil, and when they grow inside the soil, they produce a large surface area. So we have discussed the structures. So root hairs are the extended parts of the cortex. So they are further grow and grow. So why they have a large surface area inside the soil? Because they have the important function of these root hairs is there to get more water and soil for the body of the plant. Okay. So we discuss the functions of root hair. First is that large surface area for absorption. So root hairs provide large surface area for absorption. They grow out into the spaces between soil particles where they are in direct contact with the water. As I told you, they grow out into the spaces between soil particles because they have to grow under the spaces under the soil. And why they want to grow? Because they are in direct contact with the water. So that's why they can get more and more water for the plant. Second important function of root hair is that absorption and transport of water. You can see in the screen, the cytoplasm of the root hair has higher concentration of salts than the soil water. Cytoplasm of the root hairs. So I'm also telling you again and again, root hairs, cytoplasm. Cytoplasm, you all know, it is a jelly-like substance which is present inside the cell, and all biochemical reactions inside the cell happens in the cytoplasm. Okay. And I also told you the meaning of cytoplasm. Cyto means cell and plasm means liquid. So so it is a part of the cell biology. Okay, so the cytoplasm of the root hair has a higher concentration of salts than the soil water. So plenty of water and plenty of salts are present in cytoplasm as compared to the root. So, water moves by osmosis into the root hairs. So, how water is moved towards the roots by osmosis. And what is osmosis? You also have, I also have told you the process which is given in a side box. Okay, you can see in the side box we have discussed now that osmosis is the process in which the relationship between the concentration of solute and water potential inverse means they work to opposite to each other, and this is the movement of water from an area of high water potential to an area of lower water potential. Okay, so what is happened here, you have to understand the meaning of this line. So water moves by osmosis into the root hair. So how water gets into the root hair? It gets entered into the root hair through by the process of osmosis. And what is osmosis? Osmosis is the higher concentration to lower concentration. So definitely the aerial part of the plant of the body have many cells, but all cells have the cytoplasm. And we also have discussed in this paragraph that a plenty of salts and water is present in the cytoplasm as compared to root hair. So definitely the excess water which is collected from cytoplasm, it will be moved towards the root hairs. So this process shows the osmosis from higher concentration to lower concentration. Salts also enter root hairs by diffusion or active transport. So the root hairs, how the water enters in the root hairs, it will enters in the root hair by diffusion or active transport. And you also discuss and you also notice that diffusion is the process in which they absorb water and salts in the xylem and phloem tubes. And active transport is a process which is opposite of the osmosis. It is from lower concentration to higher concentration. So after their entry into the root hairs, water and salt travel through unicellular intracellular spaces. So after entry into the root hairs, they move into the intracellular spaces. Intracellular spaces mean the spaces which are present inside the cell, among the cells. So the extra water will be moved towards the intracellular spaces, and because of that, go through cells via channels called plasmodesmata. These all definition you also learn in chapter number 4, plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata are those small tubes which make channels, which make the link among the cells inside the body of a plant and reach xylem tissue. So once in xylem, water and salts are carried to all the aerial parts of the plant. So this is a process. I am telling you again. Listen it again. This is not confusing. This is easy. The first step is that more plenty of water and plenty of salts are produced in the cytoplasm. So the water and salts which are produced in the cytoplasm, they get reached to the root hairs under the soil through a process of osmosis. And osmosis is a process in which the concentration of water is from higher concentration to lower concentration. So when it gets reached to the root hairs, it cannot enter in the body of the root hair. So it needs a process. So this process is called diffusion and active transport. These salts and water enter in the body of root hair through a process which is called diffusion and active transport. And diffusion is that in which mostly salts, mostly water is absorbed, and definitely salts are wet because salts are hard and food substances. So they enter in the root hairs by a process of active transport. Active transport is a process in which the water concentration is happen from lower area to higher area. So, through diffusion and active transport, this excess water and salts becomes the part of the root hairs. And then once it enters into the root hairs, then all root hairs are connected with each other by channels which are called plasmodesmata. So this water and salts move in these channels and spread in all root hairs inside the soil. So once they are all spread in the inside the root hairs, ultimately they are collected into xylem vessels. And once this water and minerals are enters into the xylem vessels, then xylem vessels are responsible to pull that water and minerals above the ground and take up to all aerial parts of the plant. Aerial parts of the plant means all parts of the plant which are present outside the ground. So this is a process which is done by root hairs. So I have discussed two functions of root hairs with you. First, root hairs provide large surface area for absorption, and second, I have discussed the process of reabsorption of water. And now you can see the diagram in your book. You can also see it is given identify root hairs on the growing roots of onion, carrot, radish, etc. So in this diagram, you can see this is the main part of the root, okay, and from this root the parts are extended from it, okay. So this is the main part of root, and this is consists of xylem and phloem tubes, and these xylem and phloem tubes are connected with a pericycle, and this pericycle connected with cortex, and these extended parts, these are called root hairs, and extended part of root hairs actually are the cortex of the internal structure of a root. Okay, so this is the internal structure of a root, and these are the root hairs. These are the extended part of the cortex, and they spread inside the soil for a long way. And their important function is there to get water and food particles for the growth of the plant. So that's why a plant gets proper food for its growth. Now you can see the sidewalks. Plants also form beneficial relationship with soil, bacteria, and fungi in order to increase absorption of minerals. This is very important thing. This is important for your MCQs. You have to underline in your book that all plants form beneficial relationship. Beneficial means useful relationship with soil bacteria. You all know in soil there are lot of bacteria present inside it, so they make a useful relation with bacteria. Why they make this useful relationship? The answer is there. And fungi. Why they get to increase the absorption of minerals. That's why they can get more and more minerals for the growth of the plant. And we all know a plant needs organic food in the form of minerals and in the form of root foods for their growth. So this is a process of transportation, that how water and ion uptake is happen in the body of a plant. So in this paragraph, when you read it, you never understand it. But I have divided these three paragraphs into three headings. So first is that one about introduction, okay, and in this paragraph you have discussed the function of root here. So you have to write two functions of roots, write two functions of roots. So in this paragraph we have discussed two functions of roots. Now this paragraph tells us about the reabsorption of water, how water becomes a part of the plant. So in this paragraph we have discussed the internal structure of a root, okay. So which parts are included in the internal structure? So first we have discussed that is the first part is called conducting tissues. Okay, you can see in your book. This is first part is conducting tissue. Second is internal structure pericycle. Third is endodermis and cortex. Fourth is epidermal, and the last one is root hairs. This paragraph shows us the internal structure of a root. You have to give the heading here, internal structure of a root. Now the third paragraph, in this third paragraph we have discussed the functions of root hairs, that why they are important, and in this paragraph we have discussed two functions of root hair. First important function to provide large surface area for absorption, and the second function we have discussed about the absorption and transport of water. Now this topic has been ended. Now come to next topic, that is about the transpiration. Take it, Betty, you can also understand this topic with the help of a diagram, and you can see it's a diagram about the uptake of water and ions by roots. Okay, you can see first of all, these are the xylem vessels. These are present inside the root. Okay, along with there is a layer of thin walled cells which are called epidermis, and these all epidermis are connected with the layer of cells which are called cortex. Okay, and you can also see these all are there are intracellular spaces among the cells. Okay, so these all spaces are called channels, which are called plasmodesmata. You can also see where it is a given. These are called channels. Okay, and inside the cell there is a large vacuum. You can also see, and all cells have a cell membrane along with it. Okay, and these are called the nucleus, and this is called the soil. Okay, so because of that, these all are connected with So these all are connected with each other. Okay. In last page, you have seen the diagram of root, or this is the internal structure of a root. Okay. So I need to understand. So first, the water is produced in the soil. Okay. Here it is produced. Then it comes into the cortex through intracellular spaces. Then it becomes a part of your endodermis, and after that, it becomes a part of xylem vessels. And then these xylem vessels are responsible to take up this water in the alien parts of the plant, and that's why the water moves in the whole body of the plant. And this water consists of minerals, salts, and all organic food, which is important uh, um, relationship for the plant.